This is the Tri-State Time Machine. Each week, your host, Vanessa Hankins, and her guests share memories and stories about the past, the present, and the future of the Tri-State area. That's West Virginia, Kentucky, and the Ohio areas. If you used to live here, or you currently live here, you're going to catch yourself saying out loud, "Wow, I remember that." Now, here's Vanessa.
Hey guys, it's Vanessa, and this is the Tri-State Time Machine. And today we're doing something we've never done before. We've been doing a little bit of different stuff here and there, but something we've never done before is fan Q&A. So I've got a list here about 15, 20 so odd fan questions that we've been asked over the time span of us doing the podcast. And when I say us, I refer to, WG back when he was with us, and then also Jason when he is here with us. Today it's just me. We are going to go ahead. Why do I keep saying we? I don't know. Anyways, I'll start with saying thank you to everyone that keeps tuning in and everyone that speaks up and lets me know that they listen to the podcast. You really don't know how encouraging it is to hear someone say, "Hey, I listened to your podcast." So for someone to willingly make the decision to search our podcast, find an episode, hit play, and take the time to listen, I mean, it's a joy I can't explain. I don't think until you've ever put work out there into the interweb and not known what was going to happen, I don't think you could ever understand the feeling. But every time we have a guest on and I watch the downloads rise, I'm blown away every single time, like it's the first time. And I don't think that that's ever going to go away. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't think I could thank you enough. Over the weekend, I was at a Marshall game, and a longtime friend that, I hadn't seen in years came up and said, "Hey, I want to know what happened to your co-host. I want to know what happened to him. He was awful young." And that's really a question for his family. So I'm not going to answer that publicly here on the podcast. But please know that, yes, he was young. Yes, he was taken long before we were ready for him to go. And I know the podcast hasn't been the same. I've tried. We've got trial and error. We're just going to see where it goes. I think having a round of guest hosts is probably going to be the best bet, just because we're missing something. I don't know what we're missing, but something's not working, and I'm trying to move things around and get a feel for what makes it work. So please, 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 please give us feedback. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. And let's keep building this thing, guys. Let's do it together. I'm excited to keep giving you new content, and I'm excited for your feedback on it. So I guess that's it for me. Let's jump into these fan Q&As. So the very first question, and one I get asked a lot, is how did I first get into podcasting? And I've shared that on the recordings before, but I'll go ahead and share it again. I was minding my own business, doing my wonderful job at Safety Town, and this very random short man approaches me and says, "Hi, I'm WG Bunch, and I do this podcast. It's not a big deal, but it's fun. I would love for you to be on it." And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think a podcast is for me. I have this terrible laugh. I stumble over my words. Since having braces, I stumble over them more. I don't know if it's a good fit for me. And, he he was unwavering in his desire to make the Safety Town episode happen. He wanted it so bad, and he had pictures from when he had visited Safety Town when he was in second grade, and they were awesome, and I loved him sharing that stuff with me. And I was like, you know what, I owe it to this guy. Like, what can it hurt? So I reach out to my higher ups, and I'm like, listen, this is what this gentleman wants me to do. Next thing I know, Hank Dials roped in and loved that, because I was scared to do it by myself. So Hank and I rolled into the Realty Exchange offices and met WG, and that was the start of the most beautiful friendship that I've probably ever experienced. The way that he took me under his wing and showed me the world of, radio hosting and DJing and podcasting, and, he showed me all these things, and it was a thing that, like, when I was growing up, I always used to, I've talked about it several times on the podcast before, too. I used to sit in my room and record songs off the radio and pretend to be a WTCR or WKE DJ. And, and I did that, like, in 3rd and 4th grade. Like, I was very, very young. It was, like, the secret thing that I did. I never told any of my friends that I did it or anything, but it was always the secret thing that I wanted to be when I grew up. So doing the podcast as a guest was kind of like a dream come true for a moment. And when the episode aired, it did phenomenally well, which actually I'm going to look up now while we're talking. I'm going to look up now and see how many downloads that episode got, because I'm curious, because I know where we're landing now, and I'm curious where those episodes, how they were doing back then. But I'll keep looking for that while we're talking. But so that's the story of how I got into podcasting. The episode did phenomenal, and WG reached out and he said, you have to come back. You have to be on this podcast. Your laugh is contagious, and we as in the listeners, we want more. We want them all. And I was blown away by it. So I talked to my husband, and I was like, I don't know. What do you think? Do I have time for this? And I said, well, heck yeah. Let's do it. Like, life is too short. Let's do it. And it became a thing. I became his co-host, and everything else, as they say, the rest is history. So that is how I got into podcasting, and that's how I have landed in podcasting ever since. It's a big part of my life now, and I don't know how life would be without it. I get to meet so many fantastic people. I get to partake in the craziest activities that I would never do. I mean, I went to Heritage Farm with WG, and we did the zip lining. I am terrified of heights. Like, that would have never happened had it not been for this podcast. So it's just, it's a big part of my life, and I'm happy to be here. I've almost found the podcast. I'm trying to look. Oh, come on. Let's go to Safety Town. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Let's head to Safety Town. So, oh my gosh, that was 3 years ago. So, in the first 24 hours, it had 36 downloads. In the first 28 days, it had 101 downloads. And it has, to this day, had a total of 187 downloads. So that's 187 people who have listened to that podcast, the episode. And, again, the rest is history. So that's pretty cool. I mean, that blows me away. The episode that we aired 3 years ago is still getting plays. So that's pretty awesome. That's nowhere near what we get now. But it's still really cool. It's still really, really cool. And I'm proud of it. So let's go on to the next question. Do you have a favorite episode that you've recorded so far? Yes. The Safety Town episode was probably my very, very favorite. I've talked about it a million times. I won't go into the details of it. But my next runner-up would have to be the episode that we had Holly Smith Mount on. We giggled and just cackled so much in that episode. It brought me so much joy, and it was so cool for the first time to... WG had always kind of covered the past, but we had never covered, like, the future. So we were like, it's Tri-State Time Machine, past, present, and future. Why are we not doing the future? So we invited Holly on, and she shared a story about Snoop Dogg. And kind of her life, and like where she grew up, what led her to where she's doing now, what led her to city council, all that. And a big thing that we talked about was FOMO. There's just so much going on in our community that FOMO has become a thing. It's fear of missing out. And there's so much wonderful things going on in our community. And there still is, I don't know how long ago it was that I recorded that episode with Holly and WG. It's been at least 2 years. But it was really fun. So that's my runner-up. I think probably my least favorite, not that anyone asked, but I think probably my least favorite was probably my update of what was going on in my life. I had just lost my mom. I had lost WG. And not that it's a bad episode. It actually got really great download numbers. And I think that's the thing about podcasting. You're raw. You're vulnerable. You just lay it out there, not knowing if anyone's going to listen and if they're going to receive it well and if they're going to relate. And thankfully, my listeners, you guys show up. You show up and you show out and you support me. And that was probably my most difficult episode. As far as recording episodes, having the most fun was probably my tribute to WG, hanging out with all of his friends and hearing their stories and hearing the tales of him in college and him in elementary school and what he was like, as an ex-husband, what he was like as, a stepfather. Those stories are forever etched in my heart. And I hated the reason that we were having the episodes, but the tribute itself was such a beautiful, beautiful thing. So although I miss him and I'm sad that he's gone, those episodes were, they were pretty cool. They were pretty cool to record. So if you've not listened to those, WG is a big part of this podcast. I'll never forget to mention him ever. So he's at the root of everything that we're doing at Tri-State Time Machine. So yeah, next question, I guess. This is one that I ask a lot of people that I've never been asked. If you could go back in time and live in any era of the Tri-State, which would you pick? I'm going to go with the heyday of industry. I want to be in Huntington when the Frederick Hotel was actually running. I want to be going to shows at the theaters. We had multiple. I want to go to them all. I want to wear the fancy, beautiful gowns going to the theater. I want to go to the fancy dinners. I want to experience everything that Huntington had to offer in its heyday when things were booming. So yeah, I think that's when I would go back to. I don't have a specific year. I just have a time period that I would have liked to have been in. What's something that your listeners may be surprised to know? What is something about you that listeners may be surprised to know? Oh, I don't know that there would be anything that people would be surprised about. God, this one's a hard one. I'll have to think on it. Goodness gracious. Maybe that, I actually have, severe social anxiety. That's the craziest thing in the world, especially considering my job and my role that I play in the community by, being I don't want to say a community activist, but being very involved in my community. One would think, because I'm the first one that steps up and says, I'll do it when no one else will. So, I always end up being a speaker or leading prayer. I always end up doing something that is in the spotlight. And please know that it is taking every ounce of my being to be up there and seem like a normal human being when I'm up there. Even doing this podcast, I've come to feel quite at home, and this is kind of my de-stress. And this part of it, the recording part, this part doesn't bother me at all. But the moment on that Wednesday morning when I get that notification from Spotify that a new episode has dropped, I am just ate up with anxiety because I'm like, oh my gosh, first of all, did I say anything to offend anyone? Not that I normally do, but you know, you worry about that. I don't want to offend anyone. I want us all to be happy and cohesive. So did I offend anyone? Did I do good at not cussing? I've been trying so hard in the last couple of years to do better. This podcast kind of brought it to the forefront of how bad my mouth actually was. So been trying to do better at that. So, you know, did I say a wordy dirt? Did I bring something to the table that all of my listeners can enjoy? Like, that one eats me alive. Did I bring something to the table that every single listener is going to enjoy? So, yeah, that's maybe something that people may be surprised to know about me. Who is my dream guest, living or from the past? We talked about this a little bit in the 100th episode, and I think I picked Oprah. But, you know, I thought about it more, and this is very, very cheesy. But if I could have a dream guest, I think... Oh my gosh, it's so hard when you think about it. And I think I have two. I have two for kind of the same reasons, but very different reasons. One would be WG, because I would love to hear what he thinks about the podcast, and I think he would be amazed to know the numbers that we get now for downloads. I just can imagine him just being like, holy shit, like, Vanessa, these people they're downloading it and they're listening to us. Like, can you fucking believe that? And sorry for the wordy dirts, but like, he would be blown away. He would not believe the downloads that we get now. And that's not to say that we're, you know, blowing other podcasts out of the water. I mean, we're doing great for especially our little niche group that we have for our podcast. You know, we keep it very limited to the tri-state, so there's not a lot of interest in the bigger picture of the world. But for what we're doing and for the longevity that we've stayed here, we're definitely kicking ass. So I just know that he would be blown away. The other dream guest that I think I would have would be my grandmother, because first of all, I would want the opportunity to talk to her. And God, she was a storyteller. So like, she would be one of the most phenomenal guests to have to talk about good old Wayne County, talk about Eastland, talk about the Ponderosa. And if you're not a Wayniac, you're not going to know any of that. But she, through and through, was this just, you know, Appalachian, pull yourself up by your bootstraps woman, and man, could she tell a story. But I wouldn't want her only because of that. I would want her because I think she would be astounded that we're talking into these, you know, these microphones, and hundreds to thousands of people are listening to what we're saying in this room while we're by ourselves. Like, that alone would blow her mind. And how cool would that be to teach technology to a person who, you know, has been gone 25 years, you know? You've missed a whole lot. So this would just be a mind-blowing concept to her. So that would be my second guest. So the next group of questions are about the podcast. How do you come up with episode ideas? It varies. Usually it starts with a person, because I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so interesting. I would love to dig deeper into, like, it's basically me being nosy. Me meeting someone, or maybe not even meeting someone, and reaching out and saying, hey, like, you have this business, you're doing this in the community. I would love to hear the story of how you got there, how this business became such a community partner, an asset. Or sometimes people reach out to us, and, you know, honestly, we don't have it very often, but our Cannon Park episode with Clinton Burley, he had reached out to me on an email that WG had set up, and of course with WG's passing, I did not have access to that email. So when we made a new email, he finally found us on social media, found the new email address, and had emailed us. And really no one emails us, so like, I hadn't checked it in months. And I was like, well, maybe I'll bounce over there and see what's going on in that email. So I get it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Clinton, I am so sorry. Like, it's been months. I'm sorry you didn't get a response. And, he came back, like, so positively and was like, oh, it's absolutely okay. I just really think your listeners will love the stories that I have to tell about Cannon Park. And after he told me some of the stories, because he didn't ruin it for me. Like, I got to sit in here and hear the stories just like you did at home for the first time. So I was so stoked to have him on, and I love that he reached out, and I love that he knew he had a story that you guys were going to love, and you have so far. I mean, it's blown it out of the water. I think it will set a record for the most plays. I'm calling that now. Right now, Holly's episode is the top one for downloads, but I think this one's going to give her a run for her money. And she's going to be really sad to hear that. So she's probably going to have to come back on and talk to us again and try to blow Clinton back out of the water. So Holly, if you're listening, let's make a date. Which guest has surprised you the most? Oh man, what guest has surprised me the most? That's a hard one. That's a really hard one. I think, and not because he was recently on, but I think Dylan Smith. Dylan is just this big ball of energy, and he has infinite knowledge about filmography, or I'm not even saying that right, films, movies, all of the details that fall into that realm. Theater. I mean, he has all this wealth of knowledge that it's not my wheelhouse, but it's so cool to see someone that has so much passion for a certain thing. And I think that's super cool. And we get people on here that share stories, and they have a passion for what they're doing, or maybe their business that they started, but nothing compares to Dylan when he starts talking about actors and roles that they played in, and their backstories of their actual lives as human beings, not as their actor facade. So the characters that they're playing. So yeah, I think Dylan Smith. What's been the funniest moment during recording? I think probably the funniest moment during a recording would have been with WG. We both had a couple drinks prior to recording because we were having a meeting, and I got a little tipsy. I don't even remember I need to go back and figure out what episode it was, because now I want to know, like, if I sound tipsy the whole episode. But I spilt a mom water all over all of our equipment, and we cleaned it up, dabbed it up, got everything all situated, all while recording the podcast. We didn't stop for anything. And I'll never, for the life of me, know how we did it without the audio hearing it. I don't even think we told our editing guy to mute it out. I think we did it so seamlessly that it didn't need it. But afterwards, we laughed and laughed and laughed. We were like, okay, we're amateurs. No more drinking before the podcast. Because in that moment, I could have ruined it all. I really could have. I could have ruined our equipment. I could have ruined the microphones. Our phones were laying on the table. Our notes, all the things were there. And they were all, just covered in mom water, so of course they get sticky. It was a whole thing, but that was probably the funniest moment during recording. A few funny things happen here and there, like a watch will go off or someone's phone goes off, and that's usually pretty funny, but we've never had anything crazy. Do you ever get nervous interviewing people? Oh, abso-flippin-lutely. I get nervous before every single recording, whether we've had them on before or not. There are guests that I'm more comfortable with just because I talk to them outside of the studio in my everyday life. But every single episode I am nervous as can be because, what if I'm not asking the right questions? What if I'm not entertaining you guys? Because I have to entertain myself, obviously, to keep up with the podcast. I have to want to do it. I have to love it. Because I'm not doing this for money or anything else. This is, I lose money on doing the podcast, actually, after I pay for editing and the equipment upkeep and upgrades, and I'm not complaining. Anyways, here nor there, but the nervous energy is there before every single interview. I'm not nervous once we get started, but prior to, I'm a ball of nerves. Absolutely. How long does it take to put an episode together from start to finish? That's really something I can't answer. I can make my best guesstimate on it. However long it takes me to record, so add that in, 30, 45 minutes. I probably get here about an hour beforehand, go over my notes, half an hour, go over my notes, get prepared, set all the equipment up, or just make sure the equipment's in working order every time. So then, record, and then I go home. I get on my computer, I upload the audio to this webpage, and then Circle 270 Media is our, I refer to him, I don't call him the company, or I don't call them by their company name. I get always confused about their number, but Circle 270 Media, I just call it my podcast guy. That's kind of his gimmick, that's his thing. So if you're looking for someone to help you with a podcast, you want to start one, you have one, you want help, Circle 270 Media, my podcast guy. Brett Johnson is amazing. Thankful for him, not only as him doing his role for the podcast and doing our editing and all that, but he also has been such a great asset to me, and I would call him somewhat of a friend, because he's been there for me through the loss of WG and how to podcast and what to do, and when things are wrong, how to fix it, so he has been instrumental in my ability to be able to carry this on. So shout out to Circle 270 Media, my podcast guy. Call them up if you need, or email them, however you want to communicate, it's all realms are available, but they have Facebook, they have socials, they have all the things. So hit them up if you have a podcast and you're looking to get into, or you have one and you want it edited, or you just don't know where to start. They're your people. You can get your equipment from them. You can do from start to finish. So hit them up, Circle 270 Media. Okay. What is a piece of history that you still want to cover but you haven't yet? There is a story about a young man who was murdered, an African American boy, and he was murdered, I don't know what year, so I don't even want to try to guess, but the story with him being murdered and hung in Ritter Park is a story that I would really like to cover, but it's such a morbid time in our history of Huntington that I don't know that it's one that I'll ever touch. I don't know that it's our I don't think it's our subject matter. Although it very much interests me and it's one I would love to do, I don't know that I'll ever do it. I don't know that I'll ever touch it. So yeah. Okay. So these ones are local tri-state questions. And I've broken these down into like different categories just so it would be easier to stay on task, because my ADHD is like squirrel and I'm looking the other way. But you guys know that. You listen to me all the time. So what's your favorite hidden gem in Huntington or the tri-state area? This may not be a fan favorite, but my favorite place in the tri-state is the riverfront. If I have had a crazy day or I just want to unwind before I make it home, I will go and park. I will set a timer in my car for 15-20 minutes and I'll just sit there and I'll watch the river flow. It brings me calmness. It brings me it just grounds me. That's such a random odd thing, I know, but I like to go to the riverfront. So that's my favorite hidden gem in the tri-state area. What's a piece of local history that everyone should know? I think a piece of history that everyone should know. I'm actually not going to tell you the history. I'm going to tell you where to get the history. I think every Huntingtonian needs to go on the grave walk with Greater Huntington Parks and Recreation and hear the stories of the people who founded this community. It's not only enlightening, I mean, and you can find it in books and stuff too, but it's really cool because they put actors to the story at Greater Huntington Parks and Rec, and it's just such a neat way to learn your city's history. I think it's great that our people are still here in our community with us today. You know, they're no longer with us, but they're buried in our community, and I think that's important to know. I think it's important to know where you've came from to know where you're going. So, next question. What's an episode idea that sounded strange but turned out amazing? An episode that's strange that turned out amazing. That's a hard one, man. You guys are really like digging deep here. I don't think that there's episodes that sounded strange but turned out amazing, but I do think that there are episodes that started amazing and were kind of a flop. All of those being mainly where we tried food on air. Those were kind of a flop. We learned you guys do not like to hear us chew and eat. Big surprise, I know. But those always seemed like a great idea, and they just never turned out. They never quite came to full circle on being a good piece. I don't know. Maybe you guys disagree. I don't know. What do you think makes the Tri-State special compared to other places? What do I think? I think our cultural diversity makes us special compared to other places. I've traveled a lot of places for work. I've traveled a lot of places with my family, and the cultural diversity that we have here, and I think a lot of that is in part to Marshall. So shout out to the herd. We're glad you guys are a big part of our city, but and a part of our tri-state. But I think our cultural diversity is probably my favorite thing and the most special thing about our community compared to other places. If you had to recommend one local event to someone new, what would it be? Oh, I think the hot dog festival. That might be a really stupid answer, but it's so fun. It's so laid back. Or maybe Chili Fest. Yeah, I'm changing my answer to Chili Fest. Chili Fest. Because not only do the local businesses and groups and clubs and all that get to showcase themselves because they're the ones cooking, but you also, it's like Hot Dog Fest. It's laid back. It's a place to meet and greet with all your neighbors that you don't see that often, or maybe some that you do. We find sometimes that we get to Chili Fest and we end up hanging out with people that live on our street, you know, and that's fine. And that's the point of it all. It's to unwind and spend time with those that we care about. So I think that one, or if people are into wine, I think it changes drastically. I think the Septacular would be the next one or Rels and L's. I think it's a close tie. I guess it really depends on whether you are a beer drinker or a wine drinker. But this is the FOMO that I'm talking about. We have so many great festivals. It's so hard to pick. So I can't pick. I tried and I can't. Personal and fun side of things. Do your family and friends listen to every episode? Absolutely not. I have probably and these are just people that I know. Like, if you've never told me that you listen to the podcast, I don't know that you listen to the podcast. So, like, I have no idea. But the people who have told me that they listen to the podcast, I probably have 3 friends that I can count on one hand that listen to the podcast. One is a diehard fan, and she lets me know every episode how she feels about it, and I love it. I can record a fantastic episode, and I'm like, oh my God, I cannot wait for you to hear this one because I need your feedback. So yeah, shout out to my 3 friends that listen. My family. This one is a very, very big topic of conversation in our circle. I don't think that my husband has listened to a single episode. Not a single one. Maybe the Safety Town one, because I remember when WG sent me the edit to listen, it was like 8 o'clock at night and we were already in bed because we're grandparents for sure. We're old people. We go to bed early. But we were laying in bed, and I think I made him listen to the edit with me, the final cut. So I think that's the only episode that he's ever heard. So no, my family and friends do not listen to every episode. I guess if the listeners want to consider me a friend, then yeah, lots of my friends listen, but not my immediate circle. Kind of bummed about that, man. What the heck's wrong with my people? I need better friends and family. Okay. Do you edit out bloopers, or do they ever make it into the show? For the most part, I feel like Circle 270 leaves the things that make me who I am. We don't do a whole lot of editing. It's more for sound quality than it is content. And I like it that way. I like that you guys kind of get a raw version of what we've got going on. You hear all my lisp. You hear when I misspeak. You hear when I mispronounce. You get it all. And I like that. What is your go-to snack or drink while recording? I always have a Mom Water or a Red Bull every single episode. Never fails. Usually it's a Red Bull, but sometimes it's a Mom Water. Or a couple. You never know. If you had to rename the podcast, what would you call it? So this one, if I had to rename the podcast, I think I would zone it in a little bit more to Huntington-based instead of tri-state-based, just because we get more content that is Huntington-based than we do tri-state-based. It's really hard to get people in the tri-state, like in the outer lying areas, to be on the podcast, find interest in the podcast. So I think I would just call it the Huntington Time Machine. I love the time machine theory. I love the thought behind it. I think WG was spot on with it. I love the past, present, and future of our community. So yeah, if I had to change it, I think that's what I would change. Which past guests would you want to hang out with for a day off mic? Man, I don't think I could pick just one. Because many of them are good friends of mine, and colleagues of mine that, that I work with every day. But some that were strangers that have become friends, and this might be a given. Some people that are, OG fans of the podcast, they might not be surprised by this one, but I think I would pick Joe Murphy. And the reason I would pick Joe Murphy is because he is a wild man. He is, full throttle from the time his feet hit the floor to the time he lays his head down at night. And he just has the coolest life. Like one minute he's accepting awards in Tennessee. The next he's at Little Old Safety Town planning a trick or treat with me. And, the next he's at Healing Appalachia on the stage giving awards to people who have mastered Narcan training. Like the man's life is just fascinating. So if I could pick someone to spend the whole day with and just kind of be in awe of, I think it would be Mr. Joe Murphy. So yeah, these were all great questions. We have been talking for about 35-40 minutes, so I'm sure you're ready to cut the cord and be done with me today. So there you have it. There are our fan questions. If you have more, please send them in, and we'll try to do this again once I get another 20 or 30 questions in. All right, guys. Love you. We are out of here.
Thanks for listening to the Tri-State Time Machine. If you have a memory you want Vanessa to talk more about, just send her an email at tstm@mail.com or post a comment on the Tri-State Time Machine Facebook page. Did you like the episode? Be sure to share it with friends and family. It's the only way we can continue this fun work that we do. You can find a link in the show notes that you can use to share it.